Welcome back to Views with Hughes, your agenda-free news. This is Jerome Hughes, and be sure to go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel and click bell notifications so that we notify the future uploads and updates. Now, there's more to the big Acolyte meltdown that needs to be discussed. First off, let's be clear. Star Wars has always been about a galaxy far, far away, filled with epic space battles, ancient mysteries, and timeless stories of good versus evil. But when Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland, under Kathleen Kennedy came around, it felt like, Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland, under Kathleen Kennedy was more interested in pushing woke personal agendas than staying true to the Star Wars universe that we all know and love. All right. And it's no secret that the Star Wars franchise has faced its share of controversies over the years, but now we're looking at a new issue, one that's hitting a bit too close to home for many. And I'm talking about Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy. Now, that's the latest addition to the Disney Star Wars universe under Kathleen Kennedy. And it seems like the fans, well, actually, we're going to see why it seems like the fans just don't want a season 2. And we're still seeing the last remaining Star Wars fans and a number of Disney Star Wars fans turn off Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy, as episode 5 is a no-show, just like episode 4 was. Now, I've reported on this before, but we need to keep this going, okay? Now, first off, let's talk about the ratings. It's been clear since the first season wrapped up that Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy didn't exactly set the world on fire at all. Now, the ratings for Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy have been consistently poor, and it's not hard to see why at all. Now, fans have been vocal about their dissatisfaction, and it's not just a few disgruntled viewers. It's a broad sentiment that's hard to ignore. Even Grace Randolph said she hated a certain episode and she was tired of the season. Now, Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy fails to make the Nielsen ratings chart for the second week in a row. This time for episode 5, featuring the big lightsaber battle that people have been talking about. And for those Disney shows out there claiming that, the Nielsen ratings don't even matter, as I've revealed before, Disney uses Nielsen and has Nielsen automatically turned on in your Disney Plus account. All right. Now, those fake fans out there also waiting on a season 2 announcement who compared Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte to Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy to Ahsoka need to realize that Ahsoka had double the amount of fans watching at half the cost. OK, and as you all know, Nielsen released the ratings for the week episode 5 of Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy was released on June 24th through June 30th, 2024. Now, with the different shows up there, at number 10 is Jeremy Renner's Mayor of Kingstown Season 3 with 319 minutes in the millions, okay? And since Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy didn't make the cut, that means that Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy, though the numbers for that show are lower than that at 319, okay? Now, as I've been comparing, Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy to Ahsoka and Andor, we again see that Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy is, well, we've already known this. It's the least watched Star Wars series on Disney Plus, okay? Now, I'm gonna go ahead through the shows right quick on Disney Plus. Andor episode 5 was made. It made the Nielsen charts with 356, going up with episode 6. Ahsoka episode 5 made it onto Nielsen charts with 577. Book of Boba Fett episode 5 also beat Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy with 580. And what about Kenobi? Disney Star Wars Kenobi, 733. The Mandalorian season 3, 878, and that lost to Mandalorian season 2 at 955. Okay, so the Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy basically it was also marketed as the gayest Star Wars ever. And that came from Leslye Headland herself, and she's been pretty vocal about how Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy, reflects her own life as well as experience. And that's where the trouble starts, okay? Instead of just focusing on what makes Star Wars great, the thrilling action, the deep lore, and the classic hero's journey, Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy basically was more interested in turning the spotlight onto Leslye Headland and her own personal narrative, okay? And that's simply the thing that the fans never wanted in the first place. Now, ratings do tell the story, okay? When you look at the numbers, it's clear that Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy didn't even exactly set the world on fire. And in fact, it's been struggling, and critics and audiences alike have been less than impressed. And it's no surprise why. Even Grace Randolph, like I said she hated it, okay? Star Wars fans, especially longtime fans, felt that Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy, was pushing a woke agenda rather than basically enriching the Star Wars saga itself that George Lucas gave us. And that was a real turnoff. Now, Leslye Headland, her focus on making Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy, and an extension of her own identity, well, let's just say it seemed to basically overshadow the very essence of what makes Star Wars compelling. The franchise has always thrived on the universal themes that resonate with a broad audience, like that includes courage, redemption, and a battle between good and evil. But by focusing so heavily Leslye Headland focusing so heavily on her personal experiences, Leslye Headland risked alienating the fans who were looking for something more aligned with the traditional George Lucas Star Wars experience, okay? And we've seen that in the ratings. And let's not forget the mixed reaction from critics and fans alike. Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy's attempts to push the social and cultural agendas haven't even gone unnoticed, okay? Now, instead of just basically, instead of drawing viewers with engaging stories and familiar elements, Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy, seemed to turn into a platform for the personal political views of Leslye Headland. And this wasn't what many fans signed up for. And it's a big reason why there's little enthusiasm for a second season. Well, there's no enthusiasm for a second season. And it's worth mentioning that the poor performance of Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy can also be seen as a big reaction to the broader issues that's plaguing the Star Wars franchise in recent years. And many fans have been disappointed by the direction of the franchise under the current leadership of Kathleen Kennedy. And it feels like there's been a shift away from the core elements that made Star Wars special from George Lucas in the first place. And with Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy, this feeling basically has been amplified. Okay. But the question now is, will the powers that be at Disney and Lucasfilm take note of this backlash? Doubtful. I mean, they still got a chance to, but they're not. But will they understand that fans are craving something that aligns more closely with the beloved aspects of the franchise rather than personal agendas? Or will they push forward with more of the same, ignoring the clear message from the fan base? Okay, I highly doubt it. We all know the answer to that. But that's how it goes. And finally, Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy, has become a prime example of how basically injecting personal woke ideology into a beloved franchise can actually backfire. Now, the ratings are low, the fan base is disillusioned, and the Disney Star Wars, the Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy, having focused on Leslye Headland's personal experiences over the core elements of the George Lucas Star Wars have left a lot of people feeling cold. Okay. But if Disney and Lucasfilm want to win back their audience, they might want to reconsider their approach and focus on what made Star Wars great in the first place. All right. And I guarantee you all, this show, Disney Star Wars, The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy, it's been in the works for like years to come, years before it was premiered. Okay. And that was at a time where I'm pretty sure Kathleen Kennedy, Leslye Headland, and even Bob Iger were feeling that everyone wants woke stuff. Okay. So this should have just been a tax write-off for them, so that way they can get money back. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts you may have with this particular topic. If you enjoyed what I shared in this video, go ahead, smash like button, share far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already and you enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.